And again, markets are in the red across the board right now. Dow Industrial Average finds itself down 212 points, 33,389. NASDAQ is off 65. The S&P 500 is down by 24. There are many questions to be dealt with in the wake of the failures of Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. The real estate industry is near the top of that list, with many developers having done business with those two institutions. So what does this mean longer term for real estate, especially on the commercial side? David Bitton is co-founder and CMO of rental property management software platform DoorLoop. David, pleasure to have you with us today. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I think the real estate side of it is kind of the interesting story on a variety of fronts, and obviously especially on the commercial side, because you had so much connection between some of these banks and real estate developers. How much exposure do we believe that commercial real estate really had to those institutions?
Yeah, so in the case of SVB specifically, they were reported to have about $2.5 billion worth of CRE loans, 20% of which were for office buildings, 35% for multifamily. So the real exposure right now is unknown because there's such a big domino effect that could happen. If they go down, other banks go down. There's so much real estate tied into these banks. These banks lose their locations. They go into foreclosures. Everyone's going down. Everyone's losing money. REITs are involved. And then if you think about the banks going down, it's just a domino effect that spills out. All the businesses lose their money. They close their locations. They go down. So luckily, we haven't seen that big tipping point, you can say, because then we'd be in a much worse situation today.
Is there a concern that maybe we might still see it, or has some of the moves that the federal government made over the last couple of weeks, have they brought a little bit more security to the investments that the real estate side have had in that genre?
100%. So, Jamie from Chase recently said that the banking crisis is still not done. There are still a lot of, naysayers out there, of course, but I will tell you, when SVB Bank originally crashed, it was chaos for a few days. People were moving their money out from smaller local banks, and it could have been really bad. It was about to be really bad. Luckily, the Fed and the government stepped in. They calmed the market. They guaranteed everyone will have their deposits back. So all the panic kind of subsided, and here we are a few weeks later, and it's pretty quiet right now, which is a really, really good. It's really good. It's very good news for the market.
So then what is the state of building in the commercial real estate sector at the moment, do you think?
So the state of building, buildings are still going up. Depends which part of the country you're at. But obviously, interest rates went up, inflation went up, cost of goods went up. Things are taking time now to arrive from China, wherever they're importing from. So I think developers need to be more conscious, obviously, of their rising costs. And what's probably going to happen, and what we're seeing is happening already, is they're just passing the cost down to the very bottom. So now people that want to rent or they want to buy, their costs are going to go up. The prices are going up. So everything is going up as a result of everything happening in the last 3 years in the economy.
Joined by David Bitton, who is a co-founder and CMO of DoorLoop. How then are developers, how have they kind of managed with what has gone on the last month or so, and how are they feeling about putting forth a lot of new projects? And the other factors that are at play here is obviously the impact of the pandemic and the kind of shift that's going on in some companies where you have more people working from home, and maybe companies are thinking about the level of real estate investment they need to have in the first place.
There is a lot of uncertainty going on right now, especially because of the pandemic, especially because of rising interest rates, and especially because of remote working right now. No one knows what's going to happen in the future. No one has that crystal ball, unfortunately. So I think it's more just risk aversion right now. We are definitely seeing the effects of remote work. Many, many, many less people are working from an office today. Even just internally in our own business, every interview we do, the first question is, can I work remote? Everyone's looking to work remote today. And, we've moved offices 4 times in a year and a half. I've toured dozens of offices myself, and I can tell you there are a lot of empty office buildings right now, a lot. So it's not a great place to be in right now, but what I can tell you is that we are also seeing a shift to go back into the office. Companies like Tesla, for example, they're pushing people to come back in. Even Google now is pushing people to come back in. So there is we're kind of heading back to the norm where people are coming back into the office, but it's still being affected. So I think as a developer, you need to think longer term that, hey, I thought everyone was going to be in the office, not anymore. So now you have to be more flexible, maybe a mixed use space. Maybe we can convert into a co-working space. So they have to be a lot more flexible and creative with what they're going to be doing in the next few years.
We talk about this from the developer standpoint, but what about the landlords? How are they dealing with all of this?
Yeah. So, luckily for them, they probably benefited the most out of everyone during the pandemic because there was so much crazy demand in certain parts of the country, especially Florida, where I'm in, that rental prices went doubled. So they really rode that wave. They finally, I could say cashed in or made the return on investments. They did very, very well. But once again, a lot of landlords or property managers that purchased properties in the last few years when interest rates were super low, a lot of them locked in only 5, 7, or 10-year ARMs, adjustable rate mortgages. And they locked in maybe 3%. But I think what we're going to see in the next 5, 7, 10 years is when those rates start to adjust and go up from 3% to 6%, they're going to double overnight. You're going to start seeing a lot of either foreclosures, they can't afford it, or you're also going to see a lot of more rental increases for the tenants, unfortunately.
I mentioned that you're on the software side of the rental industry and property management. What has all of this meant for your marketplace right now, and where do you see the growth as you move forward in the years ahead?
So you know what? We recently raised $20 million last year, Series A, and all the VCs, that was their first question. How are you guys handling, this new industry, this new market? And it's actually been our best 2-3 years ever because there are so many renters hitting the market right now. Everything is so expensive to buy. You're seeing, especially, Gen Z, they can't afford homes. It's also a different generation. They don't really want to own homes like the older generations used to. So there's a lot of renters right now. Houses are just overpriced, outpriced for many middle-class citizens. So that's number one. We're seeing a huge influx in rent, which is great for us. And number two, technology has evolved immensely in the last 3 years thanks to COVID. It just pushed certain industries forward a lot. A lot of people want to do things virtually now with like virtual tours, virtual screenings, virtual showings. It's all virtual. It's all digital. So gone are the days of placing an ad in a newspaper to find new tenants. Right now, landlords and property managers want everything online, everything digital, everything automated. So that's what we're doing as a company. DoorLoop is doing to make that happen. There's no more paper and pen involved. Everything's automated. Everything's digital. So I'll just give you one quick example. Let's say a landlord now has a vacancy and they need to fill it with a new tenant. So in one click in our software, they can post that vacancy on Zillow, Trulia, HotPads, anywhere online. Tenants can find it automatically with their alerts on Zillow, like everyone does. And then they could even apply directly online with an online application. They could sign electronic signatures, e-signatures, lease agreements, background checks, screening. Everything is online. They could even pay rent online by credit card, debit, ACH. Everything is fully online and everything's fully automated. So we're really improving that whole process, making everything automated, more efficient, more fun, more user-friendly, more modern for this new generation.
Great to have you with us today. Thanks very much, David. We wish you all the best and hope things work out well for the real estate, for the commercial side across the board. Thanks very much.
I have high hopes it will. Thank you so much again for having me.
Thank you. David Bitton, who is CMO, and co-founder of rental property management software platform DoorLoop.